Hi, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Fatherless Sons. My name is Wiley, and I am your host, and this is episode 109. Today, we have a jam-packed episode because I am going to introduce a new tool to everyone that I want to share. It's a tool that I created, and this is going to be reviewed under the Building Your Empire segment of our show. Right after that, we'll head into couch time where I will discuss a little bit about mindset. It's really important, I think. And hang around towards the end for our final segment where we'll be discussing our fatherless and famous person for episode 109. So hang around for that one, please. So let's get right into what we're going to be discussing because this one, like I said, is jam-packed, and I am going to introduce a tool that I created in order to help people identify some of the possessions that they have in their life and the true worth and value of those possessions. Because sometimes I believe people can think that something in their life is valuable and holds value when the reality is it does not. So I came up with a tool that will take out all of the emotions that will help you identify by using this tool what the truth is about the item that you have. So I'm going to put that chart right up on the screen so that you can take a look at it. And as you can see, it's divided up into quadrants. So this first one that I have on the screen is going to kind of show you a little bit about what these quadrants are made of and what's going on here. This is a what I call a possessions evaluation tool, or PET for short. And first, I want to draw your attention to the outer border of the chart and the very bottom of the quadrant chart. You will see negative equity. And then as you go all the way up to the top, you'll see positive equity. And when you look at the bottom, you'll see negative cash flow, neutral cash flow, and positive cash flow. So what you're going to do is you're going to take all of the things that you think or consider to have value in your life, all of your possessions, and you're going to plot those possessions out on this quadrant. Now, depending on what the item is, will determine where it falls in these quadrants. So let's go over what these quadrants are, first of all. At the very top left-hand side, you'll see neutral possessions, and these are liabilities with cash out potential. Let's go right over to your right, which is going to be your best possessions, and that will be comprised of assets with cash out potential. Now let's drop down to the bottom left-hand side, which is your worst possessions. That's in the red quadrant, or the red square on the quadrant. And this will be comprised of liabilities without cash out potential. And the very last one, which is good possessions, and this will be full of assets without cash out potential. Now let's go over a few examples of which items that you own, which possessions that you have will go into these quadrants. So let's give you some examples, and you can pause this video so that you can either write out your own little quadrant on a blank piece of paper and write down your list, or just put a square and list the items where they belong. And one final thing I do want to mention is on this quadrant, if something has, for example, negative equity and negative cash flow, it'd be all the way in the corner of the red box, not in the middle of the red box, but down below in the low left-hand corner of the red box. Now, maybe you have something that is a red worst possession, but it has a little bit of equity in it, but it's still not a positive equity, but it's really close to being positive equity. That item will actually go up a little bit. So it wouldn't be at the very bottom left-hand corner. It'll kind of be right below the neutral possessions, but still in the red box. Now, maybe you have something that is negative in equity, but it's neutral in cash flow. So you'll put that a little bit closer to the good possessions box down at the bottom. Okay. So you kind of see where I'm going with this as far as how to put things inside of these squares. They don't all necessarily have to go in the middle of the square. They can kind of go on the top of the square, the bottom of the square, or to the right or left side of the square. So now let's go over some examples of how you would use this chart and how you would plot your item. think about an item that you would have that you would want to put here. Most people might say, well, what about my car that I got outside that I used to go to work? Well, as you can see, based on this chart of examples here, it depends on how you're using that car, and it depends on if you're upside down on the value of that car. So if you normally when you go off of the car lot with a car that you just bought from the dealership, that car loses value the moment that you drive off of the parking lot, okay, off the dealership lot. So it's already upside down. You already owe more on the car than what it's worth. Meaning, if you a week later tried to sell the car, you would still have to pay the dealer the difference of what you sell the car for. So you just don't have enough to pay off the car. Okay. So that's called an upside down situation or upside down value. So let's review exactly what we have on this chart as far as everything that's listed on the examples, starting with the neutral possessions tab, which are liabilities with cash out potential. So they have value. You can sell it for cash. Okay. And some examples of this will be non-dividend stock accounts. So you have stocks and you can sell those stocks if you wanted to, but you're not drawing any cash flow every single month from those stocks. Let's see the next one. Let's look at real estate with equity without income. Next, you have personal valuables. Next, you have term life insurance or cash value life insurance that either has some type of equity in it or some type of value. And I say term life insurance, even though you don't have cash value in a term life insurance policy, you can still sell a term life insurance policy to vendors that will actually pay you for the policy and take over the ownership of that policy. Next, you have cash in a fee-based non-interest bearing account. So that's just cash that you have inside of your checking account or your savings account if you're not receiving any interest on it, because there's no cash flow there, but you do have cash there, so it is valuable. Cash on hand outside of the financial institution, that's cash under your mattress or in a safe deposit box, even though you're not supposed to keep it there, but no one follows that rule. Everyone still puts cash inside of their safe deposit box. And the last thing on this in this quadrant is personal vehicle or boat with equity. Okay, so this is the personal car, boat, or vehicle that you have that you already had it paid off, or maybe you have it almost paid off. And if you were to sell that car and pay off whatever remaining balance that you owe, you will be able to hold cash in your hand. So that's what I mean by it has positive equity, because you can sell that car and walk away with some money in your hand. Even if you have a small car note on it or a big car note, but the value of your car is still worth more than what you owe on the car or the boat. Let's go down to worst possessions, liabilities without cash out potential. Now, this is the absolute worst quadrant that you want to have items in, but once you start plotting out things on this, you'll notice that most of your possessions will probably fall in the worst possessions quadrant. Some of the items that I have here, for example, would be personal vehicle or boat that you're upside down in value. So you have, let's say, that brand new car that you drove off the lot and you owe more to the dealership than what the car is worth. And it's not generating you any kind of cash flow. So that's the worst type of possession to actually own, because it's not helping you. It's actually taking money away from you. It's a liability. The next one would be personal real estate that you're upside down in value on. The funny thing is your personal home that you just got, that you're excited about, falls into this category. And a lot of people don't realize that it falls into this category, because this one here, generally speaking, when you first buy a home, there's a strong chance that you will owe more on the home than what the home is worth, especially if you overpaid for the home and did not get a really good deal on it. And every single month, you're not making money from that. You're paying bills. You're fixing the water heater. You're doing some yard work or paying someone to cut your grass or paying the plumber. It's taking money from you. So it's not cash flowing you any money. It's not bringing you any money. The next thing that we have on this one is new business without positive cash flow or cash equity value. Okay. So this one is even if you have a new business, that new business may not be generating positive cash flow yet. And in the first 1, 2, or even 3 years of a business, that's normally the case. Now, that doesn't mean it's always going to stay in this negative red box. Once that business starts to cash flow, then it's going to obviously move up into the good possessions or the best possessions. All right, the last one on here that is considered a worst possession would be your personal purses, shoes, clothing, etc., without any equity value to it. So these are your tennis shoes that's in your closet. No one wants those tennis shoes, and no one's going to buy those tennis shoes. You wear them every day, unless those tennis shoes are like collectibles that people would actually still buy them from you, even though you already wore them, because maybe they're like a limited edition type of sneaker or something like that. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about the bag that you use every day to carry your makeup in, or that the baseball hat that you have on your head that is sentimentally valuable to you, but it has no value to anyone else. So you simply cannot sell it. Now let's go right on over to good possessions. We'll save best possessions for last. Good possessions will be assets without cash out potential. So they generate cash flow, but they don't have any value to where you can't sell it and make money from it, make money from the sale. An example with that would be leased business equipment or vehicles used for a profitable business. So on an example on this one is maybe you have a truck for your job, for your work, and it's your own business and that business is profitable, but you have that truck and you owe more on the truck than what the truck is worth. So it has a negative equity value to that truck. You can't sell it for cash. If you were to take it back to the dealer, you would have to give the dealer more money, even though they're getting their vehicle back. You still owe them more money. Or if you were to sell that vehicle, you still need to add more money to it to settle your debt with the dealership. And it's also including leases on buildings used for a profitable business. And that would also include rent. So if you rent the building that you're doing business out of, even if your business is profitable, that building is not yours. And if you lease that building is not yours. Now, if you own the building, that's a different story. But if you're leasing or renting out the space, then that space is not a possession that you can really sell. But you're running your business out of that space, and your business is profitable. So your business is what's making your business actually fall into the good possessions, because your business is generating positive cash flow. Okay, the next one is a business that generates positive cash flow, but with a negative equity value. Okay, so it's pretty much, self-explanatory. If you have a business that's making cash flow, but you can't sell the business itself for a profit, and this is normally like newer businesses or clients that are not transportable, where you can't sell your book of business, but as long as you run the business, you'll make a profit. So that's what I mean by a business that generates positive cash flow, but with negative equity value in it. All right. And the last one on this one is vehicles used for businesses with negative cash equity value. So that's, kind of like the example I said with the vehicle that you're using for your business, but you might own it outright. You're not leasing it, but you own it outright, and it just doesn't have any value to it. I've actually seen when I used to live at this apartment building, there was this beat up truck. It was horrible, and it was just, barely hanging together. It was like an old Ford F-150, but it was a disaster. It had rust all over it, but it didn't even have license plates, which is, you can't even drive that on the regular roads. But it had a plow attached to the front of it. And this plow was as beat up as the truck, meaning nobody would want this crap. But the business owner still used it to clear the snow out of his parking lot. So it had value to him. But the minute if he was to try to sell it, they would say, you need to pay me to take that dump. I'm not taking it because it looks like it's barely running. I don't know what you expect me to pay for that. So that's an example of something that is like a vehicle for a business with negative cash equity value, but it's generating cash flow because it's keeping his parking lot cleared of snow. Now, let's talk about the last quadrant at the very top. Now, this is where you really want to strive to get your possessions into. And this is best possessions. This is asset with cash out potential. And they also generate positive cash flow. Some can be neutral on cash flow, but they can also generate positive cash flow. So the first thing I have on here is a truck or vehicle used for the business. Now, let's say in that same example that you have a truck with a plow on it, but this time it's not beat up. It's actually in pretty good condition. And because this truck is already paid for, not only is it clearing the snow and earning its keep, creating and contributing to positive cash flow, you can sell this truck and actually make money off of it if you ever needed to sell it. The next one is rental property with equity and positive cash flow. And this is by far the number one item on this list. I love this one right here. This is if you have like a duplex or a fourplex or even a single family home that you're renting out. So you have tenants there paying you cash every single month, but you're also keeping your hands on this property for multiple years, looking at the value of the real estate market increase. So you're growing equity in that piece of real estate while collecting cash flow from the tenant who's paying you. So this is, like I said, that's the perfect item for this dark green quadrant right here. The next one would be a no fee interest bearing bank account. So let's say you have money in a savings account. They don't charge you a monthly fee at all, but they're paying you 1% or 2% interest. So every single month you're getting additional money deposited to that account because it's earning you interest, and they're not charging you any fee to have this account. Plus you actually have the cash itself in that account. So you can always close the account and take that cash, but as long as you leave the cash there, it's generating cash flow. You're taking money from it every single month that's being generated. The next one is a dividend paying stock account. Okay. So a dividend paying stock account is a stock account that, let's say you have a lot of dividend paying stocks inside of this account. So every single quarter, depending on how many shares of stock that you're holding, you're going to get a dividend payment from this dividend paying stock. And every stock will have their own particular dividend that they pay out each quarter. Now, it's a way of profit sharing for all of the people who's holding that company's stock. Now, you not only have the stock itself, which has equity in it, because if you sell that stock, you get cash. You also get money from holding that stock without selling it every quarter in the form of dividends. So you're getting cash flow from it, and it has equity value that you can sell that item for. Once again, this is ideally the item that you want to own. Okay. Going to the next one is a profitable book of business. Now, there are some brokers out there that have insurance companies, and their book of business is valuable because when they retire or go out of business, they can actually sell not just the building that they own, but their book of business, their customers as well, saying that, okay, you can start servicing these customers. I'll let you have either the entire book or a portion of the book as part of the sale of the business. And like I said, that has value because they're now able to get the residual revenue from those clients who stay on board with that insurance company year after year after year. Now, a lot of insurance brokers, they will hold on to their book of business even after they retire, which is, if you can do that, that is always the best way to go because that can contribute to your retirement income. But if you're looking for a big bang on your payout when you exit, then maybe you want to sell a portion of your book or all of your book of business when you sell that business. The next one that I have on here is performances, books, recordings, or anything that will earn you royalties. And this is where you'll hear about the superstar who's a singer that gets royalties from the sales, repeating sales of their album that's still being played and sold. Or the author who writes a successful book and they're getting royalties from every copy of that book that they sell. Or the actor or actress that is a great performer that's done a ton of movies and they're getting residual royalties from the project that they were very successful on. So they have money coming to them every single year. Now, that's like some guide and some examples of how to use these quadrants and how to properly place the possession that you have, because I don't want you to put your possession in the wrong box thinking that it's a best possession when it's actually probably a neutral possession. I want you to use these as guidelines, and these examples I've given you as guidelines on how to plot your particular items in the right appropriate box. Now, lastly, there's 3 rules that I want you to follow when you're plotting your possessions, and they're noted at the bottom under notes. The first thing I want you to remember is you must be the owner of the possession that you put on this list. The next thing is positive equity is determined on the ability to convert the possession into cash, meaning you need to be able to sell the possession for cash in hand. If you can't eventually sell it and walk away with cash, then it does not have positive equity. That is a rule that you simply have to follow. Because like I said, a lot of times you'll be on the fence. Should this go here? Should this go there? And you'll be sentimentally attached to the item. Well, just ask yourself that blunt question. Can I sell this for cash in hand today? And if the answer is no, you do not have cash value equity in that item. The last one is it must be spendable cash to be considered cash flow. Does not include equity growth. So some people say, well, what about my home? My home is growing in value every single month, and the real estate market is on fire and it's just growing. Okay, well, even if your property is growing in equity, yeah, it will go under positive equity, but it doesn't go to the right under good possessions where the cash flow is positive. So that would turn that piece of property that you have into high equity. It'll go into the neutral possession box. So let's say you have a home that is great in equity, but you're not able to bring down spendable cash from that house of yours every single month. So the best place to put your home, your personal home that you're living in, is neutral possession, because you're not taking spendable cash from your home every single month. So it does not go in good possession. It does not go in best possession because you're not generating cash flow from it. If you're renting it out or renting a room, then yes, now it falls into spendable cash. Which brings me to my very last point that I wanted to mention about these quadrants. Just because something is in one quadrant doesn't mean you can't move it to the next. So if you have something that is in a neutral possession, like a home that you are paying for and does have a good equity in it, but you're not generating cash flow, you can flip that by renting a room. If you rent 1, 2, or 3 of your rooms, if your home is really large and you're still able to live in one of the rooms or in the basement without disturbing the renters, then you can simply turn your neutral possession over and slide it over to best possession by renting out 1 or 2 rooms for a lot of money. Like if you have a home that's near a college, you can rent to college students. Or if you're near a hospital and you have traveling nurses, then you can rent a room to traveling nurses. So that's a way to increase your cash flow by just tweaking how you own that possession. The same thing happens for items that are in your good possession that are really good in cash flow, but they don't have equity yet. So just hold on to those good possessions and keep working at it. And the longer, maybe the real estate market is down today, but if it flips and all of a sudden goes up, then the real estate market is now positive. And now that good possession turns into a best possession. So look at all of the items that you own. Look at all the items that you own and think about how can you maximize your item and move it over to a more favorable box on your quadrant. That is how you maximize your cash flow. This is how you turn nothing into something. Because a lot of people will say, well, LaShawn, I don't have anything. I don't have this. I don't have enough of anything to do anything. You have more than you know. Just look at the things that you have around you that hold value that you can sell. Do a yard sale and sell those things in order to accumulate the cash that you need to buy your money press. Or maximize the current possessions that you own and tweak them a little bit so that you can start generating cash flow, which will help you buy your money press. Everything that I'm saying is always going to be related and tied to buying your money press. So before you give up and say you don't have any means, you don't have anything of value, or you don't have any way to do anything, give it, some more serious thought, because chances are you actually do have more options than you know. So let's jump to our next segment, which is couch time. And during this segment today, I am going to talk about mindset. And I want to just talk about how powerful the right mindset is. Henry Ford has a quote, and I'm going to throw that up on the screen for you. I'll paraphrase it because I'm probably going to butcher it, but the quote is something like, whether you believe you can or cannot, you are correct or you are right. And I love this. This is my favorite quote because this illustrates how your mindset determines the outcome of what it is that you're trying to do. If you believe you can do something, then chances are you will be able to actually pull it off. But if you walk into a new venture or a new deal or something and you believe that you just can't pull this off, chances are you will not pull it off because you already knocked yourself out of the race. Think about an athlete, someone who is, whether they're a boxer or whether they're a sprinter or whatever it is, basketball player, a football player, and they're on that stage and they have to perform, they have to get results. But they're at the starting line of the race and they're already telling themselves, I don't belong here. There's no chance I'm going to beat this person who's next to me because they're so fast. That is the mindset of a loser. You will lose the race just because you psyched yourself out. You're not gonna win. You need to walk into any interaction and every interaction with the ideal that I belong here and I will win. I will be victorious. This is the difference, as I like to say anyway, between winners and losers. Because winners believe that they belong. Winners believe that they can pull it off. Winners believe that they will find a way, and winners, most importantly, believe that they deserve to win. Don't beat yourself up and don't steal the victory from yourself before you even have a chance to compete. Believe that you can. There's a documentary. It's kind of old and it may be on YouTube or Netflix. You should be able to look it up, but it's called The Secret. And some of you probably have heard of this. I discovered this, I want to say 15, 20 years ago, and it literally changed my life. So The Secret, check it out. They talk about positive mindset and it's a little, it's a little out there, and it's a little corny. A lot of people might look at it and say, get out of here. I mean, this is not even true. There's no way that this stuff can be real. But I'm here to say that it works. Like I would say, give it a shot before you just say it does not work. So look up The Secret. Watch it. It's probably around an hour and a half long. Watch it, please, from beginning to end. I like to watch it and refresh myself just to remember the message in The Secret because it's a very strong and positive message. Some of you also have a spiritual belief, whether it's the church that you go to and the God that you pray to. And that's also something that will work for you because it's a positive force pushing you in the right direction. So if that's you, I want you to commit to what it is that you believe that will keep you positive all the way, 100%. Commit to it all the way so that you can stay positive and on the right path and believe that you can, whether it will be a God that's going to help you achieve or whether it's going to be your belief in the secret that's going to help you achieve. Whatever it is, you need to believe that you can do it and that you will achieve. And if you believe that and you set it as an actual goal, chances are you're going to hit that goal and you're actually going to be victorious in whatever it is you're trying to do. It all starts with the right mindset. It all begins with that positive belief that you can, that you deserve it. And that has helped me through my journey. And I know that it would help you. Set the goal and then believe that you can and will achieve your goal, and you will. All right, let's go to our last segment and one of my favorite segments of the show, which is where I get to highlight someone who is fatherless and famous. So this is our fatherless and famous segment of the show. And today's person that I chose is a woman, and I'll go ahead and give you her name right now. It is J.K. Rowling. Some of you know exactly who J.K. Rowling is. And I read the Harry Potter series that she wrote to my kids, and I read it to myself multiple times because I enjoyed reading all of her books. They're just so captivating. They suck you in. You all know when you get a good book, you can just, read through it and not want to put it down and read through it in only a couple of days. But yeah, that's what J.K. Rowling was for me. Now, her story, as far as being a fatherless daughter, is very interesting. And because she still considered herself a fatherless daughter, I decided to go ahead and feature her on this one because she actually went all the way to the age of 25 before her dad was completely out of her life. But he kind of checked out when she was 9. So this is what happened when she was 9. Her mother name was Anne Rowling and her dad name was Peter. And Anne Rowling was diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis, when her daughter was only 9 years old. So this is a tough one here because she hid the diagnosis from her daughter and did not let her know. Now, Peter obviously knew, and Peter said that once she was diagnosed with this illness, with MS, her personality changed, and the person that he married was different, and he kind of just, I don't want to say he didn't love her anymore because I don't know him like that, so I can't say that. But J.K. Rowling said that her dad was kind of disconnected around that age of 9, that he kind of checked out and was no longer really willing to participate as a family member, as the dad, even though he was still in the home. When J.K. was 25 years old, her mother died from MS. And at the time of her death, and Peter became a widower, he went ahead and remarried. And once he remarried, that's when J.K. just kind of checked out and was no longer involved with her dad, didn't want anything else to do with him. And all bets were off at that point, her and her sister. Now, J.K. Rowling's name is not really J.K. Rowling. That's her pen name. And she adopted a middle name, Kathleen, because it sounded better for, the books that she was writing about wizardry. So her real name is Joanne Rowling, and her friends called her Jo. And she only uses J.K. for the books that she writes. Now she did find successful, even though, growing up was kind of tough for her as far as, how Peter was not really there for her. And after her age of 25 years old, when her mom passed away, she never, reconciled with her dad. And her dad is still alive. He's 80 years old, now, and they have zero connection with each other, no relationship whatsoever. We like to talk about net worth, and I'll do the same here. Let's talk about J.K. Rowling's net worth. And this one surprised me. Her net worth is, as of 2026, over $1 billion with a B. $1 billion. I did not know she had that kind of money. And the reason is because she has some theme parks. I didn't know that either. So the theme parks and the residual royalties from her books is what pushed her up. And she gives a lot of her money to charity. I think if I was a billionaire, I would do exactly the same thing because you can only have so much money. And when you have $1 billion, it's hard to even understand what to do with the rest of the money after you take care of your own personal needs and the needs of your family. I don't think I've ever mentioned this, but Echoes of a Fatherless Son is part of a trilogy. It's the first of 3. And I'm currently writing the second book right now. So if you haven't had a chance to read the first book, go ahead and grab it. And I'll make sure that there's a link inside of the description so that you can look it up. And if you prefer to listen to the book, it is an audio format as well. Doug Eisengrind read it for me. I think he did a wonderful job, and hopefully I'll be able to get him to also read book 2 and book 3. Okay, so that does it for this episode. Please like and subscribe if you like this content, and also liking will help others find content like this who are looking to build their own empire. So go ahead and leave a comment as well if you want to share your story about fatherlessness and growing up without a father figure in a home. I'll be sure to read all of those comments, or as many as I possibly can. And until next time, see you all later.